Speedway, the first mile-and-a-half racetrack stop for these drivers here tonight. It's the Kansas 159 as drivers will take to this venue for 106 circuits. I'm Seth Cole alongside of Ross Brockman. And Ross, the first true mile-and-a-half these drivers will tackle here this season, and based off what we saw in practice and in happy hour, they will be willing to use every inch of this racetrack, from up to the wall in the corners to the apron on the front straightaway.
For sure. I think that's what's great about Kansas. I think about the schedule and what we've had so far for these drivers, with a couple holiday break around Memorial Day. We had some unique racetracks, Dover mixed in with, of course, the couple weeks in Daytona. Kansas is probably a welcome sight for a lot of these drivers, a place where you can control your destiny, and you talked about it. Lots of choices in these corners between running the bottom or the middle, or even towards the top at certain points. So I think we're going to see them fanned out in the corners all the time. It's going to be fun to see all those different lanes and how they maybe even change throughout the race or throughout the run. And ultimately, I think there's still a little bit of chaos here. You can kind of have some, when you get 3 or 4 lanes going in the corners and you try to funnel down into the straightaway and get straightened up, it can be a little crazy. So we'll have to see if they can keep it together and put on a show for us.
Well, despite the uniqueness of the 4 previous venues we have been at, they have all been chasing tonight's pole sitter, Jared Duda. 4 races, 4 finishes inside of the top 5. He is subsequently the points leader coming into this race. Been tremendous speed out of that race car. The only interesting thing is he has not yet gone to victory lane. We'll see if he's able to go coast to coast pole to win here tonight. He's going to share that front row. He was scheduled to share it alongside of his teammate Tony Mangi, but you saw the 24 going to start from pit lane.
Just looking at the start running order, you got Brett Malone, Hunter Madalinas 3rd and 4th. Fun to watch.
Linus moving up a row there, was originally slated to start 4th. He'll be the outside of the front row. As 38 drivers going to take the green flag here tonight. Kansas 159 is underway. The Ford's going to duke it out here, see who's going to lead him going into turn 1. About 3 distinct groups through the corner, but you see them almost even fanning out to 4 wide there. Everybody lobbying for clean air to the nose, get that turnability through the center. Try and gain track position here in the early going with everybody all clumped up, and then try and hold onto that position as the field will start to spread themselves out.
It's a great start by Madalinas to grab that lead. You talked about it, moved up on the start just because of the penalty on the outside lane, and then I think Duda just got a little loose off of 2. I think that's one thing you got to watch with this car and this track, and like a lot of tracks, when the tires are cold through 1 and 2, you're right on the edge of being able to kind of hold it wide open. But if you do, there's that chance that you maybe have cool tires and you're going to go for a slide. He had a little bit of a slide, but back in the tire tracks, and Madalinas trying to chase him down here going into 1.
Madalinas was one of the drivers I thought would be one to keep an eye on here in this race for a couple of reasons. Last week at Dover did not go his way, suffered a DNF and dropped 10 spots in the standings, out of a potential playoff spot to now 16th coming into this Kansas race. You also go back a couple of seasons ago, the last time we were here at this venue, granted we weren't running the Xfinity cars, we were in the Truck Series at the time, but he had a top 5 run. Finished, I believe, was 4th the last time we were at this venue. So obviously good numbers, and we can see some good speed in the early going out of that 7 car.
Here's the type of guy that's very good at just hitting the same line every single lap. And then we talked about it when we came on the air, just the fact that there's so many different lanes. So it'll be fun to see if he's the guy that he can sit right at that bottom the whole time. I think that's what he wants to do. But obviously, I already see the 53 of Duda using kind of that middle lane to get a run on this 7. And a great job by Brett Malone up here in 3rd. Started up in the top 5 here and pulls in on our leaders.
And Brett Malone has only made 2 of the previous 4 starts this season, but another driver out of the Mangi Motorsports stable. And looking really solid here, holding down that 3rd spot as we look a little further back in the field. Here you see the 54 trying to take a spot. That's Justin Vandermeer trying to see if he can make his way to the inside of Aspen Martin. And just behind him, defending champion of the series, Matthew Weeks in the 11, coming into this race solidly up there in the points. Trying to go back-to-back championships. And this is kind of, I don't know, I go back to the last race that we covered a couple of weeks ago. This has kind of been Matthew Weeks' MO. Not necessarily been all that flashy in qualifying. He didn't qualify all that well at the Auto Club race back in mid-May, but he's one of those drivers that methodically works his way forward on the long run, doing the same thing, it appears, here today at Kansas.
Sure, I definitely think that, who knows if he's focusing on qualifying. I know some of these drivers, they get in the session practice, they get the opportunity to just focus on qualifying, or maybe he was more focused on long run. I know that's some more he's so good at, saving tires and being there on the long run. There's a chance of getting that tonight. So I wonder if Auto Club, looking here, Kansas, those are races that tend to go long run, that maybe he's thinking. Three wide back here, that's a tight squeeze. Kinkow right in front of Lewis Woodall.
This race 6th in the point standings with that 3 wide move, and was able to get the 13 of Woodall. Now trying to see if he can also get that 50 of Frederick Rubins. Double wide up ahead of them several rows as well. You got Matt Gurr trying to pick up a spot on Luciano Espinera. Intermittent battles all through the field here, and most of it is side-by-side battling because everybody's trying to lobby for that clean air. Go the opposite lane of the driver that you're battling, hope that the line that you are in is going to get that momentum off the corner to get you clear, and then set your sights on the next driver in the windshield.
It's a track. Ooh, we got a battle for the lead side-by-side. Duda got to the inside of Manalese. It looked like Manalese even joined the battle there. It was sideways off the corner, maybe even touched the wall a little bit, but lead to Jared Duda in that 53.
Gotta wonder if maybe there are certain things you can do if you are that car behind the driver you're trying to pass. Maybe get right in the back bumper, pack the air on the spoiler, get them a little loose off the corner. We saw the 7 a little high and wide off of turn 2. Might have gotten a little arrow loose courtesy of the 53 as Duda goes back to the point. Started on the pole, but lost the lead on the initial start to Madalinas. Now he's got the clean air, and Manji Motorsports still in the rearview mirror there in the 29 Brett Malone. Here's a driver we got to keep an eye on here as well, coming in back-to-back trips to victory lane. We saw him a few weeks ago take the checkers at Auto Club, and last week he doubled down at the Monster Mile of Dover. Christian Peterson. Now, a lot of people might be wondering, well, why is he at the top of the point standings if he's got 2 victories here in the previous 4 races? But remember, he did not qualify for the season opening race at Daytona, so he currently comes into this race 5th in points, the only multi-time winner, but currently sitting 37 points behind Jared Duda.
2 spots so far, so yeah, but I think we kind of figured we see some of his teammates qualifying really well, that he was going to be qualifying up there with them, but kind of, back half of the top 10. Gained a couple spots so far, just kind of making his way slowly up into 7th. This battle here amongst mix of drivers. Espinera, they're getting a little close to Durr. Hold on to it, guys.
Contact there between Durr and Espinera. This is where it's all going on. Latter half of the top 15. Most of the top 10 have got themselves all settled out here, but these guys are still trying to fight tooth and nail side by side drafting each other, double wide, fanning 3 wide potentially there as well. Brent Kincott's been in the middle of it these past 10 laps.
It's so tough to miss the wall a little bit there too. A lot of drivers just glancing off the wall off of turn 2 there. I think it just gets so tight. You can also lull yourself into battling the drivers you're around so easily and not really pay attention. You gas it up in the middle of the corner and think, yeah, I think I got it. No, I don't, and I'm in the wall. So as long as it's not a ton of damage or you don't hit it too hard, you can keep rolling. So we'll see if anyone hopefully doesn't knock the wall down too bad. They can keep battling it out.
And that's the thing too, is we see other drivers running Watkins after Lawson at 26. I mentioned about the last time that these drivers were here, they were racing in the trucks. Obviously in the Xfinity cars here this season, season 12. Is there a slight difference in how the aero is at a 1.5 mile racetrack? Obviously, these cars lowered to the ground, not able to cut as big a hole into the air as the trucks are, that these drivers might have had a sense of what to expect coming in with previous seasons from the trucks, and now they're realizing this is an entirely different animal, especially with how slidey we're seeing a lot of them off that second corner.
Yeah, I feel like though, Kansas is kind of the perfect track for this car. I don't know, like obviously the truck is still fun here, and I think that a lot of drivers probably, obviously most of our field has more experience in the truck, but I think that there's enough experience here in this car to at least not feel like out of place, but also yeah, it drives definitely very differently. And you talked about like the packing the air ability, that's way more in this car than it is in the truck, and you're also letting off the gas a lot more in the corners, especially on the longer run than you are in the truck. So there's definitely some differences. I think it's a matter of just quickly getting used to this car in the practice session and then getting back out there. Madalinas now is got the lead back.
Yes, indeed. So he will take a second turn out there in that clean air, and one driver that's been laying down some really good lap times, you see him right there, fourth in line, is Elliott Henderson. Not too long ago, he got around Cy Jackson for fourth, and he's been putting down maybe some of the fastest laps of the top 5 consistently about the last 5 to 10 laps. He can see the top 3, and this car has got some tremendous long run speed.
Elliott probably won't appreciate me bringing this up, but I looked at the stats, and he's led over 20% of the laps that he's run in Great Lakes competition here at Kansas. And I'm like, that's pretty solid. That basically a fifth of your laps have been in the lead, but he's never won. So yeah, definitely somebody that's really fast, or at least as you can see here on the long run. Great job running down to the bottom around Malone. Going to get to the bumper of Madalinas, but it just seems like maybe this is a track that he's great at, but not able to get the victory yet. So see if he can pull it off tonight.
Maybe some other stats he wouldn't want me to read off here coming into this race as well, as he's sitting solidly up above that cut line. He's 8th, actually tied for 8th with Cy Jackson in the standings. He's one of multiple drivers that's managed to finish in the top 10 3 of the 4 previous races, but he's yet to score a top 5 yet this season as well. Elliott Henderson, multi-time winner in the series, champion as well. You gotta think, as you mentioned, able to get his car out in front, has not quite been able to really close out the deal on most occasions. This is a track that he's looking for redemption in 2 different ways. One, to be able to kind of put the period on the sentence here that is Kansas Speedway, but also net that top 5 and get a lot more points than just the solid top 10s we get.
I think you give Elliott this opportunity up in the top 5. It just seems like there's so many weeks where he's qualified kind of back half of the top 10, and it's just been a struggle. So we got a couple cars stopped in the backstretch, but no yellow. Kurt Gibson is one of them. Oh yeah, a couple cars down on the apron.
It's also Tyler McClellan in the 96. Toyotas get rolling again, as you say. Race officials keep this green as both cars were way down away from the racing surface.
Talk about Elliott running up here in the front. You give him an opportunity, I think he'll be tough to beat. Sometimes you give a driver a sniff of the lead, he's got something a little extra to contend with. So see if he can give Madalinas a run. You see Brett Malone is really just staying right with Elliott. Then we saw Jared Duda for a couple laps there just continue to kind of just get in the wall, running that top lane. I think that just maybe used up his tires a little bit, trying to get everything he can. Sometimes you can do that. What's so great about Kansas is you can still make up some decent lap time and run in the top once your tires are kind of gone. And right now he's going to just try to stay up in this top 5 here, but Madalina's trying to leg it out here and extend his lead.
I'll tell you one driver that's really on it right now in terms of lap time. Most of these drivers up here, their best lap somewhere in the 31.0s, 31.1s. How about a 30.8 for Tony Mangi? Remember, he started from pit road, was slated to roll off from the outside of the front row. He's just now made his way up into the top 20, 19th place for Tony Mangi, and continuing to climb. That 24 car is lightning fast.
Bad rejoin because he ultimately is in in the pack, you know. And so I think sometimes, depending on, you know, the penalty, having to drop to the back or start from pit road as he did, you kind of worry like, I'm going to need a caution to kind of get caught up to everybody, but ultimately wasn't too far back and was able to stay in the pack and then ultimately just start moving forward. Another guy who's seen this movie for the time is talking about Ashton Lawson getting the wall a little bit, but he's still fast, up 19 spots, up to 14th. So good job by Lawson here to gain a bunch of spots here after a poor qualifying effort.
There's a bunch of drivers that start of the season has not been kind to them. Ashton Lawson being one of those drivers. He's taken every green flag so far this season. Only one finish inside of the top 10, 33rd in points coming into this race. There's still a lot of season to go after this one. I believe we've got a total of 9 other venues we'll be at until the chase is put together. But at some point here, when you had the bad luck that Ashton Lawson has, you're looking for something, anything to find some kind of a foothold, turn the season around, and build some momentum for the rest of the regular season.
It's a track that you can do it. Obviously, a driver's track where if you feel confident in your abilities to be able to just go out there and not be at the mercy of some other drivers, like, you know, some of the super speedways or short tracks that we go to. Gives you lots of opportunities. We see a lap car. It's the 37 Tyler McClellan, who was part of that incident. Actually, a lap down, maybe potentially another lap down here. But, that's something we're going to have to see here if we continue to run green. At some point, you're going to have some of these lap cars. You have a handful of drivers that kind of, I don't know if there was an issue on the start, but Dominique Wright, Robin Durden, Nicholas Kressel, Hunter Brittle, that all kind of, you know, not that this is a drafting track, but kind of lost the draft as far as staying with the pack of drivers and kind of falling off the pace a little bit. I think there must have been some kind of issue on the start that pushed them back there, and going to need a caution to kind of get caught back up, or potentially going to go lap down on this, maybe the next run after pit stops.
Right there momentarily, the 33 of Dominic Wright. As we watch this battle, Gavin Fitzgerald up on the top side of Noah Morgan. These are all drivers running outside of the top 25 that, to your point, the list is starting to grow of those that would love to see a yellow flag, be able to catch themselves back up here. Fitzgerald in that number 14 Giant Tiger Dark Horse Mustang just up ahead of him, the 88 of Trey Holmes, and you can see up there going into turn 1, that's drivers that are in the latter half of the top 10, so that shows just how spread out this field has become since the start.
Just looking at the on 30 laps into this, a track that tends to lean green right now with everybody being spread out. There's a chance of green flag pit stops, and I think we're only, you know, you're only about 5 laps away from kind of breaking this race into, you know, 3 runs if you wanted to pit around lap 35, but you could go as far as like 45. So I think the window is open. You could even pit now and get your tires a little bit early if you want to try to gain some track position that way. But yeah, it's going to be a pretty wide window. Sometimes we've had these races that we talked about at Auto Club a few weeks ago where the window was kind of small just to fit it in. But right now, Frank Kincock might get the wall a little bit in 3 and 4. This is a wider window, a lot of options as far as when you pit here for this first time.
Side-by-side battle here, just outside of the top 10 as Ashton Lawson will pick up a spot on Aspen Martin. A little further up ahead of them, you saw Justin Vandermeer and Shane Neiswanger going at it. That is for the final spot inside of the top 10. So we got some smoke there on the back straightaway. Not sure exactly what that was from. Maybe somebody else having an off-track excursion there, similar to what happened to McClellan. Oh, that's Kirk Gibson again in the 83. He was one of those two that we saw spun around the back straightaway earlier with the 96.
Trying to, you know, sometimes you get in an incident and you're either a lap down or about to go a lap down, you know, okay, I need to make some pace here to just save my race, stay within 1 lap down, or maybe even stay close enough to leaders to get a free pass if a caution comes out, and then you make another mistake and it just insult to injury. But tough night so far for Gibson. He's gonna hopefully keep rolling. We'll see if we get a look at it here.
We've been watching these guys off of turn 2, back end, looking like it wants to slide out from underneath them. And with Gibson already going around off of turn 2, you got to think that the tire temps in that right rear tire going up pretty high. Ooh, look at that, going to kiss the wall, and it starts directing down towards the inside wall. Hard on the brakes, does not make contact there, but more than likely, I would assume just turning that wheel left, trying to get off the wall, and it starts overcorrecting down towards the inside.
Yeah, I think that and ultimately a nice save to just lock them up. I mean, to destroy the tires, but ultimately to not get any more damage. But yeah, like I was saying before, it's so easy when you, especially off of turn 2, to gas it up thinking, yeah, I think I got it, and then especially a damaged car. You had, maybe a little bit of damage from previous incident. You kind of assume that your car is going to turn the same as it does before, or expect it to, and then all of a sudden it doesn't, and you get the outside wall. But, it's a battle for fourth. Matthew Weeks just past Jared Duda. Weeks slowly moving up. We talked about it, up 10 spots since the start. A long run like this seems to be where Weeks is at his strongest.
Moving up, already passing. Jared Duda slowly moving back. We saw him make a charge back at Madalinas, get the lead away from him, but then when Madalinas passed him back, it's been a slow drop through the top 5 for the driver that started this race from the pole, in this race as the points leader. Maybe a case if he used up a little too much too soon in battling with Madalinas, and now he's paying the price for it here on the second half of the run, or is he maybe one of those drivers that's backing it down a little bit more of the drivers in the top 5, expecting to be one of the later ones on the pit road if we get into that cycle of green flag pit stops you're talking about?
Yeah, I think that was probably just a case of trying to keep the lead. He got passed by Madalinas, ran kind of the middle lane, trying to get back to him. I wonder if he just kind of used up his tires, but ultimately still up in the top 5. You're going to kind of get a reset here at this pit stop if you execute it, depending on if it's under green or under yellow. Battling here with Austin and Nice Wander. 12 Vandermeer looking ahead. Past
Cy Jackson's had a great start to the season as well. We've talked about the consistency of Brent Kingcott out of KFS Motorsports, 6th in the standings, but Cy Jackson's sitting solidly there after 4 races. Tied with Elliott Henderson for 8th in the standings, above that 10th in the standings cut line. Only 1 top 10 on the season, but when you consider that we've got this chase format where all you need to be is 10th or higher in the overall stands at the end of the regular season, I think that with that type of system, a lot of people don't realize that consistent finishes inside of even the top 15, you don't have to be flashy in the stats and have multiple numbers in the top 10, top 5 category. If you can finish top 15 every single week when other drivers have the inconsistency of a great run, a bad run week after week, you're going to find yourself up there in the chase by the time the postseason rolls around.
It's so often, sometimes, especially if you get the start of the season, if you get on a little bit of a roll, then it just seems easy to maintain your spot in the standings once you get a couple weeks in. And so far, Jackson's been really a top 10 car almost every week, and consistent enough, not having any big issues. And here, just outside of the top 10 now, but great start tonight. He's going to have a shot to contend for that top 10 by the end of this.
So you mentioned about the fact of possibility of a 2-stop or a 1-stop. Have we already crossed the threshold here of any drivers that were planning on doing the 2-stop? Does it look like just about pretty much everybody's going to go with that 1-stop, try and maybe get to halfway and make their only pit stop here if we stay under green?
Well, I think that it's still a 2-stop. I think what I was looking at, it's 45 laps is above the longest you can go, so you'd still be, even if you could stretch it to 50, you'd still be 6 laps short. Looks like Captain Fitzgerald here going to be hitting pit road. I think right now, like I said, the window opened on lap 35, and these drivers, I think, are all shooting for about 45 laps on a tank of fuel. I think the reason they're going as far as possible is just to know that there's always that chance of a yellow, and if a yellow comes out when it does, you want to still be on track. So I think that's the case right now. Early in the season, you might want to just make sure that everybody remembers how to do these green flag pit stops. See Brett Malone now in 7th. is hitting pit road. So yeah, I think we're just a couple laps away from all these drivers hitting the first pit stop with the intent to hit in the second one, maybe around the lap 80 mark.
Ty Jackson also in. You see a little bit further back there. That's Rod Fastnow in the 4. A couple drivers from outside the top 10. Whoa, somebody really hot coming in there. That's the 98 of Robin Durr, and way outside that commitment line. So that will more than likely be a pit road entry penalty there on Robin, who actually has to back up into his stall as well. We were told before we came on the air as well, there has been a slight change that iRacing has done in how they read pit road speed here now, and that might throw these drivers a little bit of a curveball tonight.
This is not a easy pit road to get down to, especially you have to use pretty much all the banking off of 3 and 4 to get your car slowed up, and then it kind of, you know, you're still turning left as you're on the brakes, which they always say, like at road courses, you know, the best way to slow down the car is to keep your steering wheel straight. And here we're trying to roll these cars down to pit road speed and turning at the same time. It is a little crazy coming down. You see this angle right here. It's a great shot. See a couple cars hitting pit road.
It's a tough place to get in. Shane Nicewanger as well. Some more of our front runners.
64 this time, 64 this time.
See Madelinas all still on pit, or still out there. Elliot Henderson pitting this time. Christian Peterson.
Did you see the lockup of the rear brakes for both Henderson and Peterson? I think Kinkot did as well.
You know, ultimately the lockup is good as long as you don't speed. If that just means you got all of it, and you know there's a huge opportunity to gain just by executing these green flag pit stops. You know, you come down, if you're able to get to pit road speed as fast as possible, right at the line is Matthew Weeks. Hold on to it.
Can he get to? Oh, we got past the cone. He got to the left side of it.
Yeah, that's man, this is fun to watch these guys try to get down there.
Yeah, let's not pit from the 3rd lane.
I think he actually closed up a little bit of distance between himself and Hunter Madelinas with that picture too. He didn't even lose ground. He may have gained a bit.
I heard somebody say on the radio, let's not be pitting from the 3rd lane. So I don't know if that was around Madelinas and Weeks as they were pitting there, but yeah, it's definitely be careful as you come down. Now we're going to see Duda's jump past Henderson here his pit stop, so we'll see he pitted the lap before Henderson, and now we're going to come back on track. We'll see as you look ahead and see Weeks there, and Madelinas a little farther out. He's going to get past Weeks. Chance to get to Madelinas down the backstretch. He's going to have the momentum. I just don't know if he'll be able to make a pass. Let's see.
Yep, temperature here. Madelinas just now getting up to speed. Looks like kind of levels off right there as they come off of turn 4. So get himself at least up to 2nd and now try to chase down Madelinas. Only about a lap difference between the tires of 1st and 2nd place.
Yeah, and I think that, you know, we saw what Jared Duda did on that first run where it kind of, you know, obviously was out front and then lost the lead and then just kind of moved backwards. You know, you wonder if he can adjust this run now. Now you know, short pitted, got the tires a little bit early just because you were out there on the older, you know, on the more scuffed up tires from that first run. Now can you adjust to save and make sure that these tires last long enough on this run to stay, you know, up in that, you know, top 3 maybe if he falls back a little bit to Henderson, Peterson, or Weeks, but we'll see if that's the case. But
a couple of drivers lost a lap during that cycle of pit stops that had not lost them prior. 40 of Nicholas Caressel, the 10 of Hunter Riddle. Like you saw right there just moments ago, Travis Hamby, Logan Hardy, these drivers have been on the tail end of the lead lap. They're not all that far up ahead of the race leader here. So while Elliott make that Hunter Madelinas managed to get out with the race lead, he might be losing that clean air pretty soon here, which could play into the favor of Jared Duda, Elliott Henderson, Christian Peterson, who are trying to run him down. Looking back here at a battle for 10th position, William Barbachelata, he's had a real steady day up in the top 10 the entirety of this race, and Ashton Lawson continues to climb knocking on the door of the top 10 now with a couple of spots right up ahead of him in the form of the 27 and the 5.
It's all about execution, just making sure you hit that green flag pit stop. We got everybody through it. Obviously, maybe some issues, maybe some violations with the commitment cone, but ultimately everybody, no incident, no caution. So now that just kind of breaks it up for this next run here. You're going to have some drivers on maybe a couple lap older tires, couple lap fresher. Here's Barbara Gelato working on Brent Kincott, just has a little bit fresher tires than Kincott. Here's Owens working his way past Cy Jackson. Cy Jackson was one of the earliest to hit pit road on lap 41, so already about 10 laps on his tires, but just a mix of strategy here as far as when they got their tires, and see how it plays out in this second run.
Good run there for Spencer Owens, picking up that 6th position. Came into this race 12th in the standings. He was only 4 points below the cut line. Christopher Heller not in the field here tonight, so he'll leapfrog him. Shane Neiswanger running a couple of spots behind in 8th. He was the cut line driver, 10th in the standings coming into this race. So Spencer Owens, if he can continue to run where he's at, we more than likely would see him up above the cut line heading into next week's race at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, home to the Art of Bricks.
Neiswanger here sitting
There it goes.
8th. I think a lot of these drivers is just slowly working their way. Neiswanger, started outside the top 10, but pretty much been right inside the top 10 since the start, though, and to 8th now, but the highest he's been. But logging laps here now, you've got through your pit stop. The only thing that's a little unique to this run compared to the first run is sometimes you kind of have to save tires on the first run just because you're in kind of the pack with everybody, or maybe giving everybody a little bit of room. You got to be careful in this run. You get back on track, you start ripping around the track, and next thing you know, your tires burn out way faster than they did that first run because you kind of forgot that, like, oh, I maybe did, accidentally save tires on that first run for making room on the start. So see how the tires react to this run if we get more drivers sliding around throughout.
Right on board here with Brett Malone. We've seen a lot of drivers be able to make up some positions on those pit stops. Brett Malone has gone the wrong way. We saw him qualify well, was up there in the top 10, and he is now scored back 18th position. You see there the lap car of Kirk Gibson looking to the inside of that machine. So I don't know if it was error on pit road or maybe something that happened while trying to get on the pit lane, but obviously the execution wasn't there. That car's actually quite slow. I'm not exactly sure what's going on there because there are drivers that are blowing his doors off right now.
Yeah, I wonder if there was a little bit of damage somewhere. It looks like this front splitter maybe just crinkled up a little bit on the
maybe on
left
the right
end.
front?
Yeah, on the front end. Yeah, I wonder if something happened there. We'll see if, I assume we're getting the replay right here from Jeff. We'll take a look, see if we notice something. I don't know, maybe pit road, you get into somebody, or big slide coming into pit road or something, slide off of pit road, who knows?
Doesn't take much. This is a very aerodynamically dependent racetrack. Oh wow, Elliot Henderson kind of muscling Brett Malone up off the apron there going into turn 1, and does indeed make contact with the outside wall. Almost gets loose as Matthew Weeks goes around the outside of the 37 there as well.
It's a tough situation down that front stretch here at Kansas. How it's almost, when you drive a lap here, it's almost and you can see it, here's our live shot. We got Weeks and Henderson right down on the apron. It's almost the preferred line is running the apron every single time at this track, and that's just how it drives. It just seems like that's the shortcut the corner on the front stretch through the tri-oval, and that might have been just a kind of a argument amongst space there as far as Malone and Henderson, who is going to kind of give each other room as they go down that front stretch using that apron. But yeah, that's kind of a tough spot for Malone to take the damage and put him in a bad situation to now be kind of nursing his car around the track.
He's now dropped back to 20th position and continuing to lose spots there. That's the lap car of Nicholas Caressel. Behind him, he's got about roughly a second back to that blue and white number 42 of Aspen Martin, and that car's bad handling will continue more than likely until making the final pit stop of the day. So a tough break there for Brett Malone, who had a great start to this race, great qualifying position in the third spot, but at least right now, not looking like he's going to get a finish indicative of the speed that that race car had in the early going. There's a nice zoomed in shot. You can see that damage right there. I mean, you can almost see that right front tire is almost sticking out, so it's almost like a parachute there as he's making his way down the straightaway.
Imagine just gonna be tougher to get that car to turn with that kind of damage. He's kind of hoping for a caution, because I imagine if you came down and fixed that, you probably would be okay and be able to still race in the top 10 no problem, but you're gonna need a caution to spend the time to fix that kind of damage. It's not something you can kind of stop and do under green flag condition without losing a ton of track time. So if you keep it green, it's going to be a tough, long way to go for, well, here's Woodall, who's 17th.
He's almost up inside of the top 10 after the pit stop cycle began. Has slowly been losing some spots, but solid run right here. Running pretty close to where he qualified. He qualified 18th, right now in the 17th position. Side-by-side battle up ahead of him there. I think Matt Durr and Luciano Espinera, I think they've got some kind of a pact here, because they have not left each other's side this entire race. We saw them back at the beginning of this race racing side by side, and here we are 60 laps later and they're still gridlocked together.
Yeah, it's a little bit better tires. Get the position finally here. Try to drive away. Yeah, it seems like it's so easy to get kind of, you know, locked into a battle with somebody, and then you lose a bunch of time as Durr to get back to the 41. I don't know if he'll be able to. Maybe just drive it a little deeper in the corner, trying to stay with him. But I think that it's happened so often where you start racing somebody, and next thing you know, you're just slowing each other down. It's so easy to just battle it out with another driver at this track just because you can run the multiple lanes.
Keeping an eye on the lap times of our top two here, and I don't know if it's those cars just up ahead of Hunter Matthews that might be affecting the lap times, but the last 3 laps, Matthew Weeks has been about 1.5 to 2 tenths faster than the race leader. And he's bringing Jared Duda along with him. We saw Matthew Weeks be able to make the pass for third when we saw that contact between Henderson and Malone. He has since been able to make his way around Jared Duda, and Matthew Weeks, defending champion of the series, still looking for that first checkered flag of the season. He is closing. You can see that green number 7, it's getting larger and larger out the windshield of that Toyota.
And you mentioned bringing Jared Duda with him. He really is. We talked about it. Can Jared Duda make the adjustment of not burning up the tires as he did on that first run? And I think so far, mission accomplished, being able to stay right with, you know, obviously got passed by Weeks, but Weeks has, you know, a couple lap fresher tires. And once he did, he just kind of stayed with them. And I think, you know, you're not maybe going to go grab the lead during this run, but this is going to, you know, kind of even you out through this run for the, you know, the lost time you had in the first run. So then maybe just have a shot here in this final run, or if we get a caution, still have a chance with the track position. So great job by the 53 to stay in this and adjust to the tire wear and the lap traffic. Maybe a battle between Weeks and Madalinas. You never know. It could be a chance to get back in this and contend for the win.
Something that's interesting, I just took an opportunity to look, and obviously maybe not all of the starts that he has made in this car at this racetrack are listed here, but via the simracerhub.com profile for Matthew Weeks, he's made 7 starts, 7 recorded starts in this car at this racetrack. Average starting position around 8th, average finishing position around 12th, 0 wins in this car. So it looks like he has figured something out here with this track, this setup, this field. He's got obviously one of the best long-run cars, and I think that with the pace he's setting right now, you give it another 2-3 laps, we're going to have ourselves an exchange for the race lead.
I was waiting for you to say, and 7 wins or something crazy. I'm
Yeah.
thinking like this car, this type of track just seems like a Matthew Weeks track. So I don't know what is.
Did you not see me bounce off
He
the
figured
wall,
out
Larry?
tonight, but ultimately,
Yeah, you bounced off the wall.
great job on the
Yeah,
long
right
run
next
here
my
to
door.
try to catch up. This is a battle here
Stay
between
hot.
two drivers having a solid night. Ash and Lawson still driving all the way up to 6th now, battling with Spencer Owens, and Owens kind of, here's two drivers, 6th and 7th, and ultimately both doing it a different way. Owens consistently staying up in the 7th, and here's Lawson, driving all the way up to the front as Barbergelata now hits pit road.
Window, I think, would be open to your point with the fuel numbers to be able to make it the rest of the way. A major undercut here by driver 27. Do you like this call? Do you think we may see more drivers fall into this strategy, or the majority more than likely going to go as far as they possibly can, get just enough fuel to make it, maybe even go? Do you think it's a possibility we go with just 2 tires on the final pit stop?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I still think you want 4s. Man, Weeks get really close to Madalinas there, trying to loosen him up a little bit. That is about as close as you can get. 2, 3, and 4. Getting to the bumper there. I think he's going to have that battle for the lead here. You wonder if Madalinas was saving at all, saving anything to try to keep Weeks behind him. He's going to run a little bit more towards the middle and get Weeks here on the bottom. To the inside.
Enough of a lane to get that Toyota Supra nose underneath of the Rexy number 7 Ford of Madalinas, and now clear for the top position. First time tonight. Defending champion has taken the race lead here at Kansas, and now we'll see if he's able to set sail or if Madalinas can stay with him. It's interesting too because we saw that Jared Duda was kind of keeping pace with Matthew Weeks. He's since fallen off. There's actually a lap car between himself and the second place Madalinas.
Ultimately still staying in touch, and that was kind of my question. You can see back, Peterson and Henderson 4th and 5th, so all still staying pretty close together, 3 seconds between our top 5. So I think any of these drivers can win it. You talked about the fuel strategy and just like where they're at, or as far as when you come get tires. I think Barbergelata, that's a little early, but it's a Hail Mary play. If you can come in and get your tires right now and set a bunch of blistering laps, try to make up a bunch of time. If we get through the green flag pit stops and then we get a caution, everybody has a set. Everybody probably comes down pit road, and now you inherited a ton of track position. And then I think you can do the same thing on the long run. If you want, you can run as far as you can, maybe even get close to 15, 20 to go before you pit. And in that case, then maybe you could do the 2-tire strategy you were saying, but I think you got to run as far as you can in order to do that. And who knows, maybe you get a caution late if you do that, or even before you hit pit road, and you can gain some track position that way. It's gonna be interesting to see where that window falls. I think most of the leaders here probably within the next 5 to 10 laps is when that sweet spot will be to hit pit road, and we'll see what they all decide to do.
Difference of those fresh tires to older tires. You see William Barbergelata just blow past the 41 and the 24. Trying to lay down qualifying laps here to cycle himself around at least to where he was running when he came to pit road, if not improve his spot in the closing stage when everybody else makes their way into pit road. This has been a very impressive run by Tony Mangi as well. We documented, started from pit road, has been able to fight his way up to currently in the 12th position. And he came into this race second in the point standings, only to his teammate Jared Duda, 19 points in arrears. So obviously you gotta wonder, with the speed we've seen out of him back in traffic, just how dominant that car might have been had he had the benefit of clean air from the start. But could have been a lot worse with him not even getting to take the green flag off the grid starting from his pit stall, and been very impressive here tonight in gaining a lot of those points, a lot of those positions back during the course of this race. And you have to take that penalty. It's kind of like, and as long as we get a caution, it might be kind of fun, just because you're going to be able to work on passing a bunch of cars. But then if you don't get the caution, then you're kind of like, man, I've been working all night, and here only the 13th. It just seems like it takes so long to gain those track conditions. Even if you have a fast car, this battle right here, there's 3 drivers with DuPont. There's Green's in the 50. This is actually an important battle here too. It's a three-way battle for the 15th spot for the 22 of Linde coming off a top 10 run last week at Dover, Aiden DuPont. These are a couple of drivers that are just below the 10th in the standings cut line. DuPont is 14th in points. He gained 3 spots after Dover last week. Lindley gained 5 spots up to 15. So these are drivers that are trying to build off of that momentum from the Monster Mile here at Kansas and take one step closer to finding themselves above that cut line.
Yeah, for sure, these important positions, and ultimately you kind of wonder if you run this long into a green flag run, you're racing around a bunch of drivers for position. If you're the first one to hit pit road here, can you get away from these drivers and ultimately just beat them that way? I think that's one thing some of these drivers need to kind of look at. To see, not far ahead is Woodall, and Brent Kingcott is going to hit pit road. He's running up in the top 10.
And just one lap prior to that, you see the 14 of Gavin Fitzgerald leaving pit road. He, in a sense, kind of started the first green flag cycle. I believe that the 41 also came down pit road the same lap, Luciano Espianera, as Gavin Fitzgerald. So the cycle is beginning. Just how widespread is it going to be that we see drivers on pit road? Because it kind of seemed like we had about 2 or 3 a couple of laps apart from each other, and then all of a sudden you had big packs of cars coming down pit roads. We see about a half dozen here this lap.
And Jared Duda, one of our front runners, coming down. I kind of thought, obviously having to pit a little bit early because of the first run, that there was a chance he would do the same again this time, and we'll see if this opportunity is give him a chance to. I see Lede back there had to back up into his pit stall. You saw him racing in battles with some of these drivers. That's going to put him in a bad spot, lose a bunch of time on pit road. But yeah, I think Duda here, now Weeks has hit pit road from the lead.
Yeah, you mentioned about Lede having his problem overshooting his stall. Lewis Woodall completely missed his pit stall. It gets worse for them. I think that we didn't have any drivers get penalized for speeding under the first round of pit stops. Both the 22 and the 13 flagged for speeding here. And boy, this late into the race, you get a penalty like that, it's more than likely your chance at a good finish gone, outside of maybe a caution saving you. But even then, I mean, there's not all that many laps to be able to work with to gain that track position back.
Down there, we see the Tyler McClellan on the outside of Madalinas there. Just Madalinas trying to get by and kind of just got in the wall a little bit. Ultimately, I kind of interesting spot now. Good for Weeks to hit pit road in the lead. That's a scary thing to do. Just being in the lead, you have the opportunity to just continue to run out front and ultimately lead one of the strategies, even if a caution comes out, and be the, potentially the first car with tires, even if somebody, some of these cars can jump you. But now he's kind of in a spot where if a caution comes out, he's going to lose a ton of track position. Where it puts Madalinas in the spot where he maybe has to run as far as he can here just to do something kind of different. But as of now, this is make it where Madalinas and Henderson, you talked about it, Peterson comes down, it's woed up.
50
no speeding penalty there for the 75, but I think some of these drivers are going to have to run a little bit long here if they want a chance to try to grab this win path.
Just barely able to get that thing woed up to get to the left side of the commitment cone. Speeding police out there flagging more. 21 of Logan Hardy has been black flagged. He came to pit road from roughly around the 12th position at the time with the cycling that's been going on.
That's not a yellow, is that
50 of Frederick Means also on pit lane. 29 of Brett Malone. I believe he just made his trip to pit road here. They will probably give a little TLC to that right front quarter panel, that damage he's been dealing with pretty much since the conclusion of the first cycle of pit stops. If you're Hunter Madalinas, I think that one thing that you definitely need is communication with the other drivers, of knowing who it is around you that's been to pit road, have those fresher tires, so that we are able to give them enough room, while also on your end continuing to try and put down those consistent laps on the older tires.
It's just a matter, and now I hear Madalinas calling out that he's pitting this time. I think this is just ultimately the strategy. When Weeks made the decision to pit from the lead, it kind of made Madalinas know that even if he goes and runs a little bit longer here, he's going to have fresher tires, but he's going to lose a ton of time to Weeks. Maybe pretty tough to get caught back up. I think this is really just a play of hoping for a caution to have another chance to get back in there. We're seeing, looks like the 26 Vash and Lawson also had speeding on pit road.
Man,
Very
such
eventful.
a good run. That's such a tough break. Had a fast car, was making his way up through the field. Looked like he was in line for at least a top 10, maybe even a top 5 if things worked out. And that's just kind of been the story of his season, hasn't it? Is now he's going to have to serve a penalty for speeding. Wow.
Wow, maybe more than just the speeding. Oh, and Matthew Weeks.
Yes,
He
yeah,
part of that?
Matthew Weeks ended up getting a piece of that there. A lot of damage on the right front.
Well, that's going to change everything. Obviously, no caution there, so that's going to really make for a interesting kind of situation as to see where we're going to end up with this. I think this is going to obviously give the lead back to Madalinas. I guess some of these drivers pitting early. We saw Duda pitting early, getting his tires, so you wonder if he is able to gain a ton of track position here. See how this cycles out.
Damage on the right front. We saw how that affected Brent Malone's car. I mean, I'm looking at it right now. Matthew Weeks did manage to leapfrog Hunter Madalinas, who's hit pit road, but Jared Duda has gone around the 11 of Matthew Weeks. So more than likely, once everything cycles around, the pole sitter will be back to the top position here as we are at less than 20 to go.
We talked about it, being able to pit early. I, kind of said, the window, you could go as far as 45, but I think that the way this race kind of breaks up is you can, shorten up those runs a little bit and make sure you got fresher tires. And that's what Duda's done tonight. And I think part of that is just because he used up his tires that first run. It kind of forced him to pit early and pit early again on the second run, but ultimately going to have the fresh tires the most by doing that. It's just a matter of, you're not going to have the freshest tires at the end, but it won't matter if you have this nice lead here. So we'll see if, now Henderson's in front of Madalinas. Obviously, that's going to be a battle. Madalinas, a little bit fresher tires than Henderson, going to have to battle around him. You see Owens up in that battle too. So can Duda hold on to this huge lead and grab this victory?
Another driver that's going to be holding on here as well is the driver that's right now scored in third, but he'll cycle up to second place when the 42 Aston Martin hits pit road, that being William Barbagelata. I mean, we're talking about nearly 10-lap older tires to the drivers behind him. Depends on just how long it's going to take for Matthew Weeks, Hunter Madalinas, Elliot Henderson to make their way around him. That could buy the 53 of Jared Duda a little bit of extra time as well to either maintain or increase the gap.
Looked at the lap times. Madalinas ran his fastest lap of the race, just that last lap, and it was a second faster than what Duda was running. So he's four seconds behind, so I think he can get there. Just wonder to see Weeks right here. Madalinas going to catch him. Obviously, you wonder how much damage Matthew Weeks has. He definitely looks slow. Just going to try to nurse this to the end and see where he ends up.
Madalinas taking all the way down there, almost to the grass on the front straightaway as he gets around both Matthew Weeks and the 77 of Jeremy Pienta, who is a lap down after the cycle of pit stops. He was up inside of the top 5, but he was running the long pond strategy there before ultimately having to hit pit road, and Madalinas makes quick work there of William Barbagelata, so only one driver to beat. And there you see him just there going into turn 1. You got this car that he's got to make his way by. That's Blair Neamo, the 64. And now, clean racetrack. Can he close up the distance in 13.5 laps time?
Plenty of time. That really is. Be without fear in the face of your enemies, and his only enemy right now is having enough time to do it. I think if you're Duda, you're hoping for a caution. I think that's going to be the only, because now I think we've all run long enough that everybody would come down and grab 4 tires. I think Barbagelata is maybe even hoping for a caution to have a chance to battle for the win. But I think the call still for Duda and Barbagelata coming down early was smart, because even in the end, if this goes green the rest of the way, you're still going to have a great finish, potentially still able to grab a top 10 in the end. So I think this is was the right call. I love the strategy. I'm an off strategy kind of guy. I love the try from both these guys, and you never know if something happens to Madalinas, makes a mistake, your Duda, you could still grab this victory.
It's a little less than 2 seconds, closing up to almost a second and a half between the top two here as we close in on 10 laps to go. It's been a tale of 2 seasons for those drivers. No finish outside the top 5 so far for Jared Duda. He has finished in every position except first inside of the top 5. A 5th at Daytona, a 3rd at Phoenix, a runner-up at Auto Club, and a 4th last week at Dover. For Hunter Madalinas, his season started off hot. The victory at Daytona and a runner-up finish at Phoenix, but his last 2 finishes at Auto Club and Dover have been outside of the top 30. Both of these two trying to break into victory lane for entirely different reasons. For Duda, it's to close out what's been an incredible first 5 races. For Hunter Madalinas, it's to try and get back on track, get back to that mojo he had at the opening of this season.
Looking back to Madalinas, it's a matter of making this pass. Aston Martin here is a lap down, but on fresher tires, so you got to be careful. Plenty of time if you're Madalinas. It's just a matter of talking to Aston Martin, kind of just wondering, hey, can you give us the opportunity to battle? I hear him on the radio, but Martin, he's got fresh tires. I get where he wants to get back on the lead lap. You want to get past these guys and just drive away. You got fresher tires because he ran long. I don't blame him for wanting to do that. Madalina's got plenty of time to make this pass. Duda's going to make it tough, though.
You see him right down there on the passenger side door, trying to get that 7 little squirrely underneath him, tighten him up off the corner. Madalinas will stay to the left rear quarter panel, try to side draft, dives it into turn 3, and can we call it a slide job at Kansas? I think we can.
Yeah, I thought that was going to be the move for Madalinas. If he had the opportunity to get to the inside, down the straightaway, you're going to have to just drive it in there, clear the 53, and you know that the tires are going to be just a little bit fresher, so you can turn out of the corner and drive away, and that's exactly what he did. And now has the lead, 8 to go. He's got to finish this off and hope for no yellows, which we've seen the incidents happen, but no cautions tonight. I think there's just a wide track and the ability. We saw it at Auto Club too, where the iRacing cautions sometimes just don't hit if cars keep rolling and they're off the racing groove. So see if keep it green the rest of the way.
So far we've seen nearly 100 laps completed under green flag conditions. You mentioned about those incidents that have not brought out a yellow. Right now 32 drivers of the original 37 slated to cross the line and take the checkered flag under power. Right now 18 of them would be on the lead lap, including Aspen Martin, who we saw go around and get his lap back. Potentially as well Jeremy Pienta there, that white Monster Energy Ford. He's closing up. He's the first car 1 lap down. And it's so interesting because in the first 15 laps or so of this race, we saw the back and forth exchange between Madalinas and Jared Duda for the race lead. Final 15 laps of this race is the 2 of them duking it out again, with Madalinas getting the advantage as another spot lost there by Matthew Weeks. Christian Peterson's going to swing around for the 8th position. Matthew Weeks just trying to hang on with that damage sustained on the right front of the nose of that Supra. Constantly can hang on for a top 10. 10th place not that far back. That's Tony Monchi trying to finish out this race inside the top 10 if they're starting from pit road, and he's bringing the 54 of Justin Vandermeerel along with him. So Matthew Weeks, he's hoping that these 5 laps tick away really fast.
Battle here with the 54 trying to get to the outside of the 24. That's a tight squeeze there, but the right spot to be. If you're Vandermeerel now, you have that opportunity to race the outside. You got a little fresher tires than Monji, but just a kind of bad entry into 3 there, kind of gave that spot back. I have to reset here. I just want to point out, you saw Christian Peterson drive around Matthew Weeks. Remember, he was up in the top 5. Maybe even had a chance before that last caution, or last caution. We haven't had a caution before that last pit stop, but we saw him kind of smoke the tires coming in to pit road. I wonder if there was a penalty there because he did spend a little bit longer on pit road. Might have been serving some penalty there, and then unfortunately took him out of the top 5. Still going to come home with the top 10 if all goes to plan. That's 3 laps.
Christian Peterson after winning the last 2 races at Auto Club and Dover. Still some battling going on here. Just inside, just outside of the top 10. Matt Durer trying to hold off Brent Kicott. Frederick Ramin's back there as well, so good 3-way battle for what would be the 14th position. There you see Peterson all over the back bumper. Shane Nicewander. You got William Barbagelata, Cy Jackson. All 4 of these cars all battling for spots. This is 5th back through 8th here. Coming to 2 to go.
Hunter Madalinas does not want to see what we're seeing right here. This is a battle right here that keep it together. Heck of a battle. I think they want to run 4 wide if they could, but I don't think that would be a good idea. Barbagelata really squeezing Cy Jackson down. While Peterson to the inside of Nicewanger. Great battle to see who can grab this 5th spot.
Hunter Madalina's trying to scamper to the start finish line as quick as he can, have that white flag displayed, and he will do so as he'll now enter into turn 1, so it doesn't matter what happens with that 4-way battle for the 5th spot now. He's gotten the flag that he needs to make the race official, and he's got an enjoyable 2 seconds back to Jared Duda. Not much traffic up ahead either. How about the race here tonight for Hunter Madalinas? Back-to-back 30th or worse finishes in the last 2 races. Tonight he's back in victory circle. His 2nd win on the season since the opener at Daytona.
Wide battle of the line. Nicewanger is going to get it, and Barbagelata gets Peterson just by a nose at the line. Great job by Cy Jackson to be the one to win that 4-car battle for the 5th spot. He gets it done. Shout out Spencer Owens in 4th. Great job by those drivers. And
that was a lot of fun there.
Ultimately, Jared Duda and Elliot Henderson, I thought he was going to have a chance to get to Duda. Got right to the bumper basically through 3 and 4, but not close enough to make a pass and finish up right behind Duda in 3rd. But Hunter Madalinas gets it done, and I think that this was just a case of, like, we talked about when Weeks hit pit road, it kind of made you feel like, oh man, that's going to put Madalinas in a tough spot. But if you don't panic, you hit pit road on your strategy, whatever that is, and he decided to run a little bit long, and you never know what could happen. And there we saw Weeks get into his issue, and Madalinas was able to run down Duda and grab the victory.
Hunter Madalinas coming into this week and falling out of the top 10 in points. This victory will most certainly put him back in. He will join Christian Peterson as a multi-time winner this season. 3 winners so far here in the first 5 races, and I kind of get the feeling, a lot of drivers, when they cross the start-finish line, there's that elation, there's that excitement in the cockpit with the celebration. I think the first thing for Hunter Madalinas when he crossed the line was a sigh of relief after what's happened in the last couple of weeks, just to finally be able to get things turned around, find himself back in victory lane, and maybe put the gremlins of Auto Club and Dover in the rearview mirror.
Yeah, they opened the season at Daytona with the victory, and then ultimately, I think that though he has a chance to win at Daytona, anytime we see him race in a car, he's got a chance to win. But it's not a Madalinas type track, and he was able to grab the victory in Daytona, and it was like, man, that's a place where you don't expect him to be one of the favorites, but ultimately, like I said, still have a chance to win. But here, a place like Kansas, obviously a track where he's great and been able to perform well at and grab the victory tonight. And a place where we expect him to do it.
See it. No cautions during the course of this race. We weren't without incidents, but Flagman really didn't have a whole lot to be able to do up there outside of waving the initial green, the white, and the checkered flag. 10 lead changes as we had 2 cycles of green flag pit stops here tonight, and pretty dominating performance by the Fords as well, taking 4 of the top 5 positions. Cy Jackson, the highest Toyota, in 5th, and Shane Nicewanger, the highest of the Chevy bow ties, in the 6th position. Well, let's see if we can dial up the driver that's currently parked on the start-finish line, his second win on the season. Hunter, it's the guys up here in the split-second broadcasting booth. You got a copy.
Yeah, I got you.
Man, welcome back to victory lane. I know it's been a tough last couple of races for you. You got the season started off so well with the win at Daytona. You had the runner-up finish followed up at Phoenix, but Auto Club and Monster Mile Dover just not really playing in your favor. How good does it feel to finally get back into victory circle, finally build some momentum after the tough last couple of weeks?
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, we were taking both weeks out of really good runs. You know, Auto Club, I got wrecked on the first lap, was able to drive back up to the top 10, fighting for the top 5, and just got involved in an incident with Elliott.
That was a lot of fun.
And then, yeah, when we went to Dover, was running top 5, just got into it with Ashton.
Yeah, that was fun. I thought.
Yeah, just some unfortunate back-to-back moments. But you know, I went into today thinking, you know, I just needed to have a small win. It didn't have to be, you know, the win like I did have today, but you know, a top 5, top 10, just to kind of have that bounce back after some rough weeks. But yeah, I knew right off the bat. I won this race in the preseason testing that we had, so I knew I was pretty comfortable with the car here. So it showed that first run I was able to get the lead. Fighting with Duda was a lot of fun, and then you know everyone threw so much strategy at me. Weeks was miles faster on the long run.
I thought I
didn't
right
quite catch what happened to him. He kind of seemed off the pace on that last run, but you know,
yeah,
we just needed to take a mini win away, and luckily, you know, that turned into a win.
Yeah, I think if you didn't hit the wall.
You mentioned about multiple drivers throwing different strategies your direction there on that final cycle of pit stops. I want to delve into that a little bit deeper because it looks like you were a driver that seemed to plan going long, using those fresh tires for the short run to the finish. At any point with the different drivers, you mentioned Weeks, Duda, at any point when they ended up making the dive onto pit road, did that kind of put a little doubt in your mind that the strategy you had was going to work out? Did you maybe consider adjusting that strategy, or did you just stick to your guns and say, you know, I know what kind of speed I've got in this race car. I was able to show it as soon as the green flag dropped. I'm going to rely on that in the number of laps remaining after the pit stop's complete.
Yeah, I mean, I had to plan to pit 20 to go before we even took the green flag today. So, you know, it's really less about, you know, what everyone else does and just how well you execute it. Yeah, I when Weeks pit with 27 to go, and you know, due to pit just before that, and a couple other guys that were near me pitted early, whenever it comes to most of these races that it comes down to pit strategy, I always stay on the same thing. And you know, most people question it. They're like, you know, why don't try pit with the guys there and cover it off? But you know, it always comes back to me, whether it's right off the bat or whether it's, you know, really late in the race like it was today, getting around Duda. But I knew if I pitted just a lap or two after Weeks, it wasn't going to make too much of a difference. He was going to have so much of a gap to he was going to save the tires by the time I got back to him. So I knew I needed a big buffer in order to catch him legitimately. And when you have tires that are so close to each other, aero matters so much. I mean, that first run, that's all we were doing. We were all aero blocking to try and keep position, because that's how it is here with the model and with this track. So yeah, kind of that last run was just determining, you know, how much of a stagger can we have against these guys that we can come back later in the race, and actually have an attempt to pass guys instead of getting stuck behind in dirty air.
Well, you came into this race below the 10th in the standings. Cut line, this victory here tonight certainly going to get you back up into that conversation. Your second trip to victory lane. Congratulations on taking the victory here tonight at the Kansas Speedway. We'll let you get back to your celebrating here in a moment. But first, the floor is yours for victory lane. Thank you, sponsors, and shout-outs, Hunter.
Yeah, shout out to Eric Kepf, bringing me back along in Spectrum this second year back, and really happy to be back here at the team that I kind of got my career kicked off in. And then, you know, shout out to Elliott, good run from him. Big shout out to Duda and Weeks. I mean, I had the most fun battling around those two all night long. So, you know, just shout out to everyone, keeping it clean, keeping it green, and then thank you guys for broadcasting each time.
Hunter Madalinas, he'll head into Indianapolis next week as a multi-time winner here in Season 12 of the Great Lakes Racing Premier Series. Congratulations on the job well done here tonight, and best of luck going forward the remainder of this regular season.
Thanks, Seth.
Ross, I believe you've got our second place finisher.
Yeah, Jared Duda, you got a copy?
Yeah, I got you guys.
Brought it home in second tonight after starting on the pole. I was going to just ask a little bit about that first run. I noticed that obviously started on the pole, had some great, Madalinas was just talking about some great battles with you guys up in the front five there, really. You just kind of went backwards a little bit on that first run. What was the balance as far as using the tires and where you were at, and how did that affect maybe your strategy the rest of the race?
Yeah, you guys kind of hit it on the head. I started on the pole, and then I had a teammate qualify outside of me and behind me, and we were looking pretty good until teammate outside of me wasn't starting on the grid. So Madalinas got handed the front row, and on the green flag start, he just rolled by me. And that's kind of what my first stage led to. I just kind of want to see what I could get out of it, and I got the lead, but I burned the crap out of my tires. And that's why I just went rearward. Like, there was nothing left. And I honestly wasn't planning on going green the whole race. So that kind of made me rethink stage 2, and I probably saved a little bit too much in stage 2. I thought I was faster at the end than most of the other cars, and then stage 3 was just a strategy call. I tried to pit a little earlier, get some track position, and hopefully it played out. And yeah, Hunter was strong. He had me beat on the long run. A couple lap cars slowed me up, but I didn't have anything for him anyway. So yeah, it was not expecting to go green, so that kind of messed up my first stage and got me out of order. But other than that, it was a good race. It was fun racing with him. Like I said, we were racing hard. I wanted to see if I could get the lead, see how hard he would race me for the lead. And I think, yeah, it was a good, clean race, and I can't complain. And then second place again, can't complain.
Yeah, it was obviously the strategy towards the end there. We saw you pit a little bit early. When you see in the mirror that obviously Madalinas has got fresher tires, and you kind of realize he's going to get to you. How close, we saw you, try to at least make him work for it, even though you were at a tire disadvantage. How much, give do you give a driver in that situation, even though it's still a battle for the lead? Do you still try to close it up as much as you can and hope that he makes a mistake? What's that like as far as the decision making, knowing that you're in a vulnerable spot but still battling for the lead?
Yeah, no, I was definitely in a bad spot. He was eating me up like half a second to about a lap. I knew I really had no chance, so I was gonna try to give him a hard time one time and see if I could kind of make the tire gap go away by having the lead, clean air, and using the air to my advantage. And I almost did it, and then he just stayed right in my left rear, and it was over from there. I thought I'd give it a shot. Yeah, when it was probably right on the edge of where I would have tried to race him. If I was any slower, I would have probably just let him go because I really had no chance. But anything less than that and where I was at, I'd probably give it a shot. And obviously I gave it a shot, and it didn't work out. But again, hats off to him. He ran a great race. I can't really complain.
Third pole of the season, leading the points. Can't get the victory lane yet, though. So where are you looking at? Maybe looking on the schedule. You got Indy coming up, Iowa, your Super Speedway race at Atlanta. What's kind of your thoughts as far as the next couple weeks and the opportunity to go grab a victory finally?
Yeah, I've thrown away, I think, 2 wins. I personally think I should have had Auto Club. Peterson just outdrove me on one of the restarts. Dover, if the caution didn't come out, I had that one won, and then I threw it away again on the restarts. I just need to work on closing the race out. But yeah, 3 poles. I have 5 top 5s, so I really can't complain. That's going to stop next week, though. At Indy, I'm not great at Indy. I don't love it, and yeah, that'll probably won't fall through next week. But yeah, any of the other tries coming up besides Road America, that one I'm not looking forward to, and Indy I'm not looking forward to. So other than that, I mean, take them all and see what we can do. Show out fast, try to win the race. If we're not fast, just kind of conserve and see what we can end out with. Again, yeah, like you said, leading points, so that's always in my mind as well. I don't know how competitive I'll be late in the season. I might have to miss a couple races. We'll see, but hopefully I can minimize that and still have a chance at the championship just because we're starting out so hot.
Sounds good. We look forward to seeing if you can get to victory lane finally in the coming weeks. But before we let you go, we'll let you shout out anyone you didn't want or send any thank yous before we let you go at the end here.
Yeah, thank you. Shout out to you guys in the broadcast. Excited to watch this one back. It was good. Clean race. I mean, I was surprised. I've said it like 4 times. I'm really surprised we went green, especially some of the wrecks up there. I for sure thought we'd throw yellow, but they must have cleared off the track fast enough. So yeah, shout out to the guys at GLR. Putting on a great show. Hopefully they have an easy night tonight with no yellows. They get to actually go to bed early. Shout out to the guys at Manji Motorsports, Duda Racing. Teammates we had good prep this week. I was glad that we showed speed qualifying 1, 2, 3. Yeah, that's always, no matter what, no matter how the race goes, qualifying 1, 2, 3 is always good. So I'm proud of those guys. Shout out to my dad, my mom, my girlfriend, everyone that's watching, supporting you guys, supporting me. It's fun. I enjoy coming out here every week racing with these guys, and shout out to the rest of the field, I guess, just because, yeah, I enjoy racing with these guys. It's cleaned up. It's been good. Like, we've been fast, and there's been a couple cars we've had really good battles with, and yeah, I just excited to be out here every week. Have a good time.
Thanks for talking to us, Jared. We'll talk to you down the road.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Blue Ovals dominate the podium here tonight. Let's dial up the third of those Ford Dark Horse Mustangs. Elliot, it's the guys up here in the broadcast booth. You got a copy?
Yes, sir.
Man, great start to the season for you. Your first top 5 here this evening, putting it on the podium at Kansas. We saw you and about 3 or 4 others. You could throw a blanket over you guys at certain portions in this race, battling inside of the top 5. Saw you in that final pit stop a little off sequence with the 53 and the 7. What was the ultimate thing that kept you out of the conversation of being up there for this checkered flag? Was it the strategy? Was it traffic? Because obviously we saw this race go green from start to finish, because it looked like this number 37 was in the top 5 in long run pace.
Yeah, before that, I just want to apologize to Brett one more time. I know I've already said it probably twice, but I didn't mean to make that contact with him that I made early on in the race. Just wanted to note that out there. And I've got the chance to say it. But as far as our car, yeah, I don't really know what else I could have done different. I think it was mainly just coming down to how you save the right front. And the long strategy was kind of hoping that I had enough tire to go get Duda. I didn't think I had anything for Madalinas, and Weeks obviously had his issue, which helped. And then Peterson had an issue on pit road, which helped, but I genuinely was content with being a top 5 car. And then a couple of guys had issues, and I thought maybe I was going to be able to get to Duda, but he had just enough in it to hold on. But yeah, it was mainly just how that right front wore down. So trying to stay out long and make sure that I can make that work at the end of the last run.
Something we obviously saw play a big part into this race as well was the execution on pit road, both getting on and the execution of the pit crew as well. During that second round of pit stops, we saw a couple of drivers overstep a little bit, get hit with speeding penalties. I remember when you came down pit road, I think you and about 2 other drivers really locked up those rear tires back in, getting a little snappy there, obviously trying to get every bit that you could. Was that something that you had practiced and you were ready for that sensation, or did it kind of catch you a little off guard trying to get every little bit that you could there on that money stop?
Well, the first stop I came in so early, so I did that for the second stop. I timed it about the same as far as my break point, but then I was like, well, I should drive it in a little bit harder. And then I realized I was driving it a little too hard, and I was like, oh man, I don't want to, the last thing I want to do is make a mistake on pit road. I try to avoid that as much as possible, and I pride myself on, not speeding or entering too hard or doing anything. I'd rather lose, a half a second or a second just trying to get on and off pit road than put yourself in a position where you're speeding on pit road and lose a lap. So yeah, I practiced it a good bit, definitely with the new timing zones and everything, how the average speed works and all that. A lot of new stuff in the sim, which is really cool, and it works like real life, so that's cool. And you just have to work on averaging your pit road speed and everything. So I worked on that. I didn't really work on entry and exit, so I think that's probably where it looked a little finicky. But we made it work, and luckily we did not speed. So 2 positives there.
I mentioned about how consistent your start to the season has been, and we've been at just about every type of track configuration, maybe outside of a road course, super speedway, mile, 2 mile speedway, mile racetrack, the mile and a half here tonight. Well, next week we go to a rectangular 2.5 mile speedway, the historic Indianapolis Motor Speedway. With the consistency that you've had here to start out the season, how does this build towards the Brickyard? Do you think we maybe, now that you've netted your first top 5, does next week maybe have the 37 in store of getting its first checkered flag of season 12?
Well, man, I wish. I'm not going to be there, unfortunately. Have other plans, and it's the first GLR race I've missed in a while in the Premier Series, at least, besides the seasons that I sit out. But yeah, it's frustrating because Auto Club, I felt like we had such a good car, and I made stupid blocks on Trey and wrecked myself, and we took a really bad car at Dover and made it really good and everything. So I feel like the momentum's building the right way, and now I've got to sit out for a week. So we'll have to see kind of what that bodes into. I think after that it's Iowa and then another week off. So and I'm not really fond of Iowa, but I usually run decent there. So I don't know. I'm frustrated because I really like Indy and I really wish I could have made Indy. But hopefully, Madelinas can go out there and get us one, or one of my other teammates, and keep this momentum as a team rolling as well.
Definitely momentum is the word. Some great momentum to kick off the season. You bring it home solidly on the podium here tonight at Kansas. Congratulations on the job well done. Before we let you go, Elliot, floor is yours for thank you, sponsors, and shoutouts.
Yeah, thank you guys, all the other admins here at GLR. I know we go through a lot and put on a lot of different shows, so really cool the race went green tonight. So really biggest shout out to all the drivers and everyone that shows up, because they're what makes this go around, and another 38 car field is huge. I know a few guys are missing, but thanks to everyone involved. All you guys that do the broadcast, Jeff, and everyone that's a part of Split Second Broadcasting. And obviously all my teammates, Spectrum Racing, Eric Kepf, the old man, and Gavin, Madelinas, Heller, and Pienta, and my girlfriend for letting me do this and not getting mad at me when I don't text her for 2.5 hours or whatever this usually ends up being. But thank you guys.
Well, that's Elliot Henderson, brings it home third place here tonight at Kansas. Congratulations on the great run. We're sorry we're not going to see you on the track next week at Indy, but looking forward to see you back at Iowa as you look to continue to make a push here for a chase spot when the regular season comes to a close.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, guys.
About that, 106 laps here tonight, completely under the green flag. And it's interesting, when we interviewed the top 2 there, Ross, for Madelinas, green flag hadn't even dropped and he fully planned to make the final pit stop. It sounded like regardless if it was under green or under caution with 20 to go. Then we had Jared Duda say he didn't have a plan for the race going green at all. You got to wonder if a lot of these guys, when the green flag dropped here tonight, had to adjust their strategy on the fly, maybe planning for a couple of cautions to break things up, and ultimately having to plan for 2 pit stops under a green flag cycle.
Yeah, it's one of those things that you kind of always anticipate. First, I think you always anticipate there's going to be cautions. You never expect a fully green flag race, but you always get one occasionally, and probably about once a season, maybe twice a season, the GLR guys will have a caution-free race. So I thought that there was always a chance here at Kansas, because it is a wide and a lot of options track, and we got it. But yeah, I imagine, we talked about not just, Duda kind of adjusting his strategy once he realized it was going green, but we talked about Lawson trying to drive all the way up through the pack, and then he had his issues. Manji had the penalty and had to drive all the way through the pack. It makes it so much tougher when you don't get that caution to reset, take a deep breath, and then have everybody close together to go after it again. So yeah, just changed a lot of the strategies as far as where everyone was at. I bet there's some drivers that were happy with it, some drivers that were meant, every week it seems like we've had these moments where we've had some cautions, or at least things we think would be a caution, but iRacing doesn't throw them, and that's what we abide by for the rules, and there's a lot of people that are upset by it, and I think most of the time they're upset because a caution would have maybe helped their race. So I think that's usually how it goes. But yeah, clean and green for all laps tonight. It was fun to watch.
You mentioned the word, and we talked about it at the beginning of the night, how wide this racetrack is, showcasing it in the closing stages with 4 drivers, 4 different lines in that battle for 5th coming to the checkered flag. Next week, we go to Indianapolis Motor Speedway, a track, a venue that is steeped in history, but in terms of space, there's not really a whole lot of it. It's a very lengthy racetrack. Obviously, those extremely long front and back straightaway, those mini straightaways between 1 and 2, 3 and 4. So you've got to have a very good handling race car, and you've got to know how the air works. There's really no comparison to any of the tracks we've been to previously this season to kind of pick somebody as a favorite going into Indianapolis. What do these drivers have, do you think, for a mindset going into that racetrack? Another racetrack that we normally end up seeing lengthy green flag runs and fuel strategy.
Yeah, I think it's a matter of just I think track position is important because it is so tough to pass, being that you really kind of have to race the track rather than race your competitors. So I think that's what we're going to see. I think we talked about Matthew Weeks tonight and how he qualified kind of middle of the top 10, back half of the top 10, and maybe was he focusing more on race pace and not qualifying? I think you're definitely going to want to make sure you can put down a good qualifying lap before the race next Tuesday at Indy, just so that way you start off well. If you can start up in the top 5, I think that would be a huge advantage. And then it's just a matter of, you said fuel mileage. There's always opportunity if a caution comes out, depending on when they are, to maybe pit and save some fuel later to go a little bit longer. And then even the leaders can sometimes pit and not lose a lap. So there is some strategy to short pitting there and having the chance, if a caution comes out, to re-inherit the lead. So I love it. It's fun. We see Pocono this weekend in the real life cars, and Indianapolis on Tuesday, a very similar kind of style of racing to see the flat but long racetracks, Pocono and Indianapolis. Can't wait to watch it all.
Well, 5 races in the books, 9 races to go until we put together the drivers that will be in that chase for the championship next week. We are in Indianapolis at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Who will kiss the yard of bricks? Hunter Madalinas will go into that race as one of 2 multi-time winners on the season, along with Christian Peterson. Will we see another driver add their name into the win column here in Season 12 of the Great Lakes Racing Premier Series? We thank you all for joining us here from this race at Kansas as Madalinas takes the Kansas 159. We will see you guys next week as Season 12 of the Great Lakes Premier Series rolls on here. For our producer, Jeff Johnson, Ross Brockman, I'm Seth Cole. Thank you for spending your Tuesday evening with us. We'll see you next week as you've been watching another broadcast courtesy of Split Second Broadcasting.